Hey there, Bible buddies. I've got another Bible review for you today. And if you guys caught the previous RSV by Thomas Nelson in Sealskin, you're going to be very familiar with this edition. This is the same exact edition as far as the text block goes, but it has a much less expensive genuine leather cover. So if you were interested in kind of the form factor of that previous edition in Sealskin, and $100 to $200 isn't really in your price range, then certainly you should be able to find this edition for probably about $20 to $30, somewhere in that range. That's about what I paid, what I've seen them kind of going for on eBay. So certainly if you're looking for a less expensive edition of the RSV with really nice paper and really nice drop caps, this would be the way to go. So let's go ahead and take a look here. We'll look at the grain. You see this very nice kind of fine grain here. It's just marked as genuine leather, so nothing crazy. It is imprinted with Mr. and Mrs. Joe H. Farmer. Thank you, farmers, wherever you are, for your contribution to the channel. And you can see that little perimeter liner on the edge there. Very fine. On the spine, we have Holy Bible, Revised Standard Version, and Nelson. We also have 5 kind of slightly, not even really raised, but just rib indications there that have been burnished. Nicely done. I mean, it definitely gives the spine a very nice look. On the back, we just have that same grain continued. And you can see this sort of kind of heavy crease here running down the center, and you can see it again on the front. Maybe if the light hits it just the right way, there's a crease coming down there. And this sort of creasing is caused by these more kind of, I should say, I guess, less flexible covers. This is almost akin to a hardback. It's not quite as firm as a hardback, but it's not really that flexible. And what happens is kind of just over the years, if you bend it too much, you'll get these kind of heavy creases in the covers. I think this is why probably a lot of people switch to like maybe either a finer material, like a more flexible material, or there might be like a substrate material in between the cover and the liner that's stiffening it up. They probably, I would imagine, would do away with that to kind of prevent this hard creasing there. Maybe like a book board or something like that in between them. I'm unsure in this specific case, but that might be the instance. So as far as other external features go, we have red and yellow head and tail bands. We do have a single red ribbon. We'll take a look at that in a second. We have that very nice red under gold art gilt. And it's very lustrous. That's a very high luster. So I would imagine it is real gold. You can see a little spot there where it kind of got messed up over the years. I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe somebody's thumb kind of pressed a little too hard, or some water or something gone on it. I'm not sure, but it's still beautiful nonetheless. On the bottom there, we do have that ribbon kind of poking out, and we can see, again, it's just a single-sided red satin ribbon there. Nothing too crazy, and certainly it does have a little bit more length than the previous edition, so it makes me think that maybe on the previous one, somebody either trimmed it or got kind of caught on something, who knows, maybe got frayed over time. But this is definitely a nice usable length as far as ribbons are concerned. So go ahead and take a look here. If you guys noticed, I totally left out my size comparison Sharpie on the previous batch of videos, so I got to remember to put that in from here forward, just so you guys can have somewhat of a kind of a reference there as to how big it actually is. But let's go ahead and get into it. On the inside, we do have a black paper liner, paste down, nothing crazy. It is textured. It almost feels like a construction paper, maybe something a little bit more durable than that. It doesn't quite feel like a beetle paper. It does kind of look like it slightly, but not quite the same as a beetle paper. But it definitely has a nice texture to it. As far as the corner work goes, it's pretty minimal. Nothing really to show off there. But I'll show it to you anyway. And then we'll get into the actual text of the Bible. We do just have one thicker sheet here, not quite cardstock, not anything crazy thick, but nice enough to write a dedication on like they did here. And that's all you get, is just one sheet at the beginning and at the end. Then we have our title page, the Holy Bible. We have some printer's information on the reverse side of that. I'll go ahead and zoom in. You guys can pause if you're interested in reading. Printed in United States of America. We have our RSV preface. A couple of pages of that. And we have our table of contents, and we have a list of abbreviations used for the manuscripts. Then we have abbreviations of the books of the Bible and the Old Testament title page. And the first book of Moses, called Genesis. So we're going to take a look. I'll zoom in. And you guys can see that beautiful drop cap that these editions are known for. And you can see the nice, consistently dark print. There's no sort of modeling or spotting or anything like that. It's just a wonderful print, this edition. I'm not sure what they did different. They must have just slowed down the printing press and used some better materials, but it certainly helps. Now this layout is going to be very familiar to what you saw before. It's again the same text blocks, the same text block, at least as far as I can tell. We have the book name and the chapter numbers up in the top corners, and then we have the chapter indicators here, which are double line numerals. We do have some poetic formatting here, but it does not look like they tried to format it anything beyond kind of tabbing, only because I see some single word lines there, so it just kind of is what it is. At the bottom, we do have footnotes and cross references, so I'll show you some there. Nicely done. And obviously it is a double column paragraph layout. So we'll go and kind of chunk through it, see what we see. Now, something that I see a lot in these Thomas Nelson editions from back in the day, especially with the RSV editions, they do get a little bit kind of loose on the first signature there. So you can see a little bit of separation here and kind of where the signature is like a batch of pages, where this first signature is kind of pulling away. And that's pretty typical of these editions, to be honest. So it's just kind of evidence there. I usually don't see it much worse than this. They usually don't, like fall out of the Bible or anything like that. But it's just something to be aware of. So go ahead and flip a little bit more through it. You can see that wonderful paper. It is a very nice creamy paper, creamy colored paper. It's just a beautiful paper choice. I'm not sure if this is India paper or what formulation they were using, but just a beautiful paper nonetheless. We'll go ahead and zoom in there so you can see that A. Beautiful A, very well done. I really wish they were still using these drop caps. They're so nice. I mean, I know Thomas Nelson kind of got back into drop caps, much to the chagrin of Skylar. But I like drop caps. So, I'm a fan. The more they can put them in, I think it just makes the reading experience a little bit nicer. I would have actually liked to have seen them at the beginning of every chapter. Thomas Nelson decided to do otherwise, and that's okay. It's their choice, right? So we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at Psalm 119. And we'll notice that there are no Hebrew characters or transliterations. It's free of that. So it's just the text there. And we'll take a really close look at that paper. You can see there is kind of very minimal show through. But to be honest, like everybody says, it shows up worse on the camera. I would agree. It kind of picks it up a little bit more on the camera in person. It is really just a very pleasant paper to read off of. Now, there is not any sort of line matching. Maybe you can see it here. Kind of in this area here, you can kind of see some lines that they kind of look a little off-centered, and they're kind of stacked up, and the lines behind it right in there. So maybe you can see there's no line matching, but again, it's not really needed with this paper quality, so it's okay. Go ahead and flip to the New Testament. So there we have the end of Malachi, and we have the New Testament title page. Then we have our New Testament table of contents. The second New Testament title page. I'm not sure why they do that. I'll have to look that up one of these days and explain it. Then we have the Gospel according to Matthew there. Beautiful text. I'll show you the footnotes and the cross references down there. We'll go to a couple pages in and look for the red letter that does not exist. This is a black letter text, so nothing really to see there. We'll flip to the end. And as is typical for RSVs of this time period, there's nothing at the end. So we have the end of the Bible there, Revelation 22. And we just have a little bit of printer's information. And there is an item number there. I'm assuming that number, the W154, that's probably for the text block. Because if you notice on the opposite page, there's a Bible item number with CEF 2807X. I'm assuming the X is for cross references, and then the 2807 is just kind of the 4-digit number that they use for all their Bibles. That's pretty standard for Thomas Nelson. I'm always curious if these letters indicate anything. The other day I had like a calfskin version, and it was brown. I think that might have been a Zondervan though, so I'm probably misspeaking. But their code actually made sense because it was like CB, so you could understand if it was like a brown calfskin, right? Calfskin brown CB. That sort of thing. I don't know if that's necessarily the case with this one. It doesn't appear to be so. But we have a nice little inscription there on the back by the previous owner. And then again, just like the front, there's only the one page and then just the liner right there. So nothing crazy. Let's go ahead and get some measurements. It's going to be very similar to the previous one, if not exactly the same size. And it comes in at 7 and 5/8 of an inch tall by 5 5/8 of an inch wide. And just under an inch thick, like a 16th of an inch off of an inch thick. Thinner, I guess, than an inch thick. But yeah, very nice addition. I love this. Let's go ahead and get a font measurement. Again, they'll probably be the same, but that's okay. We'll do it for thoroughness sake, right? Shall we? And let's find a good letter. I guess we'll do a T and thou. This is right about an 8.5 point font versus Times New Roman. Look at the N Enchanted. And it's about an 8.5 point font versus Times New Roman also. So I would say it's about an 8.5 point font versus Times New Roman. But again, a very nice, very easily readable edition. Very beautiful. Certainly the kind of driving force behind this edition would be the paper, hands down, and the print quality. The red and gold art gilt looks phenomenal in this particular instance because it's not too beat up or anything like that. But certainly the paper is the way to go, especially with the printing too. We've seen, I guess at this point, we've seen other editions of the RSV, but certainly this edition, the genuine leather one, and the Sealskin edition definitely have the best print. Some of the less expensive editions with like the synthetic leather covers, the print quality I've noticed isn't quite as nice as this, nor is the paper quite as nice as this. The paper in those editions tend to either be white or maybe a little bit oxidized. It definitely doesn't have this creamy look, and definitely the printing is a lot more kind of spotty. I don't know how to explain it. It's not as clear and as dark as these two editions have been. So definitely, if you guys find an example of this RSV online, I would snatch it up if you're a fan of the RSV, and it can certainly be had for a lot less than a Skylar edition. And who knows? You might be super happy with this. It's such a nice edition. It looks so good. Is it a $200 Skylar? No, but does it hold its own? Certainly. So yeah, I guess Bible buddies. Until next time, bye.